I'm ditching about half a dozen sound decoders in favor of non-sound decoders, and I'm going to show you how and tell you why on Ron's Trains and Things right now. Hi, I'm Ron of Ron's Trains and Things, and this week I've been working on several locomotives that I've had at the workbench for a while, needing some attention. And one of the things that I'm doing with several of those locomotives is I am replacing some older Digitrax sound decoders with non-sound decoders. Now, some of you may ask, well, why are you getting rid of the sound decoders? And that is exactly the topic of this video, is I'm going to show you how I went about replacing these decoders, but more importantly, I'm going to tell you the reason why I decided to replace these decoders and to go with non-sound. Now, if you'd like to see more model railroad tips, tools, and techniques, be sure to subscribe down below, click the little bell icon so you can catch future videos. But now let's head on over to the workbench and I'll show you how we replace these decoders and tell you why I thought it was important to do. This video is brought to you by Midwest Model Railroad. Now with 15,000 square feet and one-day shipping, they truly are your one-stop model railroad shop. MidwestModelRR.com, link in the description. I had a total of 8 locomotives that needed attention at the workbench. 4 of them needed Microtrains replacement couplers, 3 of those were Catos, and 1 was an early Scale Trains Gevo with the couplers that did not play well with others. 1 Intermountain locomotive had a burned out 6-pin decoder that I simply needed to replace, and 6 had older Digitrax sound decoders that I'm replacing with these non-sound Digitrax decoders. I'm going to show you how I did this, but more importantly, I want to tell you why. As far as the how is concerned, that's the easy part. The 4 locomotives that you'll see me working on today in this video are all Catos with Digitrax drop-in board replacement sound decoders with speakers. It's literally a simple matter of removing the old decoder and the speaker and dropping in the new motor decoder board. In a recent video where I did a similar decoder install, I failed to mention that on many such decoders, especially on Cato locomotives, you need to be sure and use some capped-on tape to cover the exposed frame under where the motor clips extend down to the motor pickups. This is explained in the installation instructions for the decoder, and the capped-on tape is provided with the decoder. This will prevent shorting out the decoder on the frame and destroying it. You used to have to cover more of the frame with tape in order to isolate the decoder, but newer Digitrax decoders have an insulation layer on the bottom of the decoder, making more tape unnecessary. So, to the question, why am I replacing these decoders? Well, there are several reasons. First, for me personally, sound is an enjoyable novelty when operating, but not a necessity. In fact, when operating with multiple operators, I prefer to leave the sound off as it gets loud and creates an excessively noisy, chaotic atmosphere. Secondly, these older Digitrax decoders do not produce quality sound. When these decoders first came out, I was excited just to be able to have any kind of sound in an N-scale locomotive. But as technology has improved and miniaturized, sound quality has improved greatly as well. Today, compared to the sound decoders that I have from ESU, these decoders just sound bad. Furthermore, these older decoders are very finicky electrically because of their sound component. There's no keep-alive circuit in these decoders, so they are highly sensitive to the least bit of dust on the track. For me, good performance is more important than sound. Another reason why I'm replacing these decoders is because of their design. You see here that these decoders include a wired-in speaker, but also this large capacitor. Finding room in an N-scale locomotive body for that capacitor is a challenge. It's equally challenging to get it back in place every time you have to remove the shell. So for all of these reasons, I'm replacing these decoders with non-sound units. Now, I'm not removing all sound from my layout. I still have a handful of Scale Trains and Atlas locomotives that came with factory-installed ESU Loc sound decoders, and they will remain on my layout. Their sound quality is very good, and they're not as finicky electrically as the Digitrax decoders are. You might ask, well, why not install ESU sound in these locomotives then? The reason is simple. I installed these sound decoders originally because they were drop-in decoders and very easy to install. ESU or Soundtrax decoders for the most part require hard wiring into the locomotive and thus soldering wires to the trucks, speaker, and decoder. And that is a task I just prefer to avoid right now. Also, the quality speakers needed for the quality sound of those decoders require further milling of the frames, another task I prefer just to forgo at present. Again, the sound is not a high priority for me. If it were, I would simply install the LokSound decoders. With one short evening's work, I got 3 of these old sound decoders replaced, as well as the burned-out 6-pin decoder in the Intermountain locomotive. That means 4 locomotives running again on my layout. A 5th locomotive received a replacement decoder, but is awaiting some Microtrains couplers that I had to order. I have 2 more sound decoders to replace, but both of these require some soldering, so I'm going to save those for a separate video. In my next video, I'm going to show you how I speed match and consist some of these locomotives to get them pulling trains on my layout. I'm going to use JMRI and Decoder Pro to do that, and I know some of you will really want to watch for that video. So that's where I am with these decoders. Now, currently on my mid-sized layout, I'm running about 25 locomotives, and only 4 of those are currently sound locomotives, all of them LokSound locomotives that were factory installed with their speakers. Now, I do have a couple of Atlas Sound Ready locomotives that I might add sound decoders to in the future. I just haven't decided on whether I want to do that or not. The sound decoders that I do have are spread out into 4 different consists, so I only use 1 sound locomotive in a consist at a time. That spreads the sound out over the locomotives and doesn't give me the redundancy that I just don't think is helpful in having multiple sound units in a single consist. I do want to reiterate that for myself personally, I am okay with the amount of sound and non-sound locomotives I have. Sound is just not as high an importance or priority to me, and so I'm okay with running most of my operations with non-sound units. Now, if you'd like to see more about upgrading and maintaining the locomotives for your layout, check out the links on your screen. Also, be sure and check out my Amazon Pick of the Week, my MicroMark promo code, and the other great links in the description down below. And join me on Tuesdays as I bring you even more great model railroad videos. And I look forward to seeing you then. 10, Lizzie?